also in saying that the Quran and the Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ validate and acknowledge people's pain, people's torments, people's traumas, people's anxieties and people's depression, people's fears. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continuously reminds us in the Quran, do not fear, do not fear, do not fear. How do you not fear? Recognize yourself. So there are something called the 3 R's. Recognize, resilience, repair. I want to tell you and share with you something important here that is both studied in science and psychology and also in our Sunnah. The core of our Sunnah, the core of our deen teaches us this. How do you become strong after calamities, after adversities? How do you continue to go as a believer after traumas, no matter what they are? You recognize, you learn resilience, and then you repair. It starts physically in your brain. Did you know that it starts physically in your brain? Meaning, Islam has come to teach us through the stories of the prophets that although we are not like the prophets, we can learn from the prophets. Number one, none of us will ever be as tested as the prophets. So don't you worry about that. But we'll get a portion of it. So the first thing we learn is to recognize that whatever has happened to you, whatever traumas, whatever environment, whatever background you have, whatever grief you went through, you do not need to define yourself by that experience. You are not that person unless you define yourself that way. Meaning, if I went through grief, I can say to myself, I am destined to remain sad for the rest of my life. But you see, the one who said that is me. If I've been through traumatic experiences, I can sit there blaming the trauma all my life and stay where I am. Or I can believe that, yes, bi'idhnillah, by the will of Allah, I can physically, bi'idhnillah, change my mindset. I can change my brain. I can change my brain. Under anything. It's something called brain plasticity. You can change literally the brain, bi'idhnillah. Allah has given us that ability. And everything in our deen, the dua, the zikr, the salat, the hereafter, the stories of the prophets, the Quran, all of it tells us you have that power, you have that ability. Recognize that you can literally change the neurons and pathways in your brain by slowly training them to do so. First of all, recognize your triggers. What's triggering me? Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Like, do I have to be that way? No. Let me go and recognize, what does Allah teach me in the Quran? He tells me you are important. He tells me you have a purpose. The fact that you're still breathing, meaning you still have a need in this world. What is it? Hone into the blessings that Allah has given you. What skills do you have? Even if it's as small as a word that you can say, even if it's as small as a little pamphlet that you read, of course, make sure you know what you're writing and get advice, not just haphazardly. Something small. Wallahi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't look at the outcome, He looks at your effort. But bit by bit by bit, like little raindrops, they can penetrate through rocks and mountains. My brothers and sisters, when we look at Nuh alayhi salam, we find the test of losing his son forever. We're not just talking about a son or a child who's gone on drugs or gone with a gang. We're talking about a child who's lost both this world and he will never see him in paradise ever again. And the waves came and took him before his eyes, Nuh alayhi salam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells you, be empathetical with yourself. You try as a parent to raise your children at the end. If you can't do anything and you try, don't blame yourself and beat yourself over it. Do other things, look after your other children, keep going. But at the same time, don't give up. But don't blame yourself so you don't be debilitated. When we look at Nuh alayhi salam's wife, she turned on him and joined the enemies too. But it didn't stop him from continuing. Yes, he grieved. Yes, he cried. And that's okay. The Islam did not come to tell you don't grieve, don't feel the pain, don't try to fight it. but try to add with things that you can do. Why should you deny yourself happiness on the other side? Resilient action that you can put forward to be productive in other ways. It doesn't stop you from doing that. Recognize your triggers and remember that Ibrahim alayhi salam went through trouble with his own father, who told him, get out of my house, and if you stay here, I will stone you to death. لأرجمنك, I will stone you to death. وَاهْجُرْنِي مَلِيًّا, get out. He disowned him onto the streets. But Ibrahim alayhi salam did not let the fact that he carries his father's genetics, or that he was born from a mother and father who had this attitude, he did not let that define him. He didn't sit there saying, because my father is like that, I'm going to be like that, I'm doomed. Nah. He took control of himself and he said, Ya abati, ya abati, ya abati, my dear father, my dear father, my dear father. He would not be like his father. And his words proved it. And in the end, even when he exiled him, told him, get out, he said, Sa'astaghfiru laka rabbi. I'm going to ask Allah to pardon you, Dad. And then he said, Inni dhahibun ila rabbi sayahdin. I'm going to go to my Lord, He will guide me. And I've never been unblessed in my dua to my Lord. He recognized who else is there for him. Allah will never leave you. So do not define yourself with your past traumas. You can change it, inshallah. When we look at Asya, the wife of Pharaoh, she did not sit there saying, that's it, the entire kingdom is against me. She smiled under torture and said, oh my Lord, build for me a house for you. She lost everything, so she gave it up. She said, oh Allah, build for me a house. There's still hope, inshallah. And on Yaqub alayhi salam lost his son and he went blind from sadness. He sat there and said, I'm not going to complain to you, my children. I'm going to go and complain to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala my sorrow. I don't need you. Yunus alayhi salam in the belly of the big fish, he did not give up. He made a mistake, but he did not define himself by that mistake. He repented. Subhanaka la ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin. The Prophet ﷺ said that among the best du'as that will relieve you from any worry or hardship or misery is to say, La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin. My Lord, there is no God worthy of worship but you. How perfect you are. I have been among the wrongdoers. Until Allah saved, and He says, وَكَذَلِكَ نُنْجِي الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And whoever says this word, believing in it and having conviction in it, we will also treat them in this same way by doing what? نَجَّيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْغَمِّ. We saved him from the claustrophobia. The stories go on and on in the Quran about resilience next. Resilience. You can, insha'Allah ta'ala, change with little bits and pieces of actions. Exercise, changing the mindset, reading from the Quran and trying to learn from the prophets and the direction that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told you, having a support network, having people who can share with you optimism and so on. All of this, inshallah, can help you along the way. Have you ever sat with a friend where you were speaking your worries and that friend said a couple of words and you go, I never thought of it that way? Sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings you that help. My brothers and sisters, dua is very important. And a lot of people think that dua is only for asking Allah for things. And Allah kindly and gently tells us in the Quran, and when man goes through some adversity, He calls upon us night and day, and whether he's standing or sitting and crying with all his heart. And when we take away the harm away from him, he forgets that He ever called us. He forgets that He ever made dua to us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is gently telling you, why do you forget? As if yesterday He wasn't calling upon us. Remember Allah also in ease. Dua is also talking to Allah. You have someone that you can sit in the night and say, my Lord Allah, my Lord Allah. Wallahi, it has a huge difference. Slowly but surely, the brain starts to change. Then you repair bi'idhnillah. Well, that's what Islam, and then it came to tell you there's hope. You can change. Sometimes